Hey, good evening, everybody. Hey, it's 8:15. We are right on time for our 8 o'clock start to our episode, as per usual. Welcome to the Heavy Hockey Podcast. This is episode number 12. It's the Dirty Dozen episode right here. We got a regular cast of characters, some people that you guys love, some people that you guys can't stand, but we got them on here, none just the same. I won't tell you which one's which, but Patrick, Oilers fanatic, welcome aboard again today, buddy.
Thank you, sir.
And we got Ryan Lotsberg down there. Lotsy, I know you're here for just a short time, but a good time.
Yeah, live fast, die young. That's why we're living tonight. Just a brief appearance for me tonight, everybody. Gotta go pretend that I'm good at hockey a little later on.
I am past the die young stage. So moving on to the biggest import of the season here for the Heavy Hockey Showdown, Mr. Kevin McCurdy. How you doing, Kev?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
I am still at work, oddly enough, but this is my coffee break to join the Heavy Hockey Podcast. Busy season for us, but that's a good problem to have.
I need to get a new agent and get a better negotiation going for my coffee breaks, apparently, because...
Hey, there's no better way to spend a coffee break than talking to Oilers hockey with you gents. And how about that for timing? A fairly decent-sized trade coming through down the windpipe here. Right before we got on, we got rid of ourselves of Andrew Mangiapane, finally gone to the Windy City Chicago Blackhawks uniform for him next. This is going to be a little touchy subject here, but we got Mangiapane going to Chicago for a conditional 2027 first-round pick. It also says future considerations. I'm not sure what that might be down the road. And we got a defensive forward, probably our third line center, Jason Dickinson, as well as a youngster prospect named Colton Dach. And not to mention, Chicago will retain 50% of Dickinson's salary. I know Lotzi has lots to say about this, so we'll start off first to see what Patrick wants to say about this. What do you think of this Mangiapane trade?
Well, it's definitely not the exciting one that we were all priming for. The Oilers are probably done after this trade. We'll see if GM Stan Bowman can pull any rabbits out of a hat here before Friday, but this is probably the big one here for the Oilers. I know a lot of people very upset seeing the 2027 first-round draft pick go out the door in this trade. Jason Dickinson comes in, 50% retained, like you said. Pending UFA here, Colton Dach in year 3 of his entry deal as well, so he'll need to do a contract come this summer as well. Colton Dach was someone that Oilers insider Bob Stauffer was talking really highly about on Oilers Now earlier. Guy who can probably step in on the fourth line here right away. Puckpedia was posting that the Oilers are currently $300K over the salary cap with this deal, so something's got to happen here before Friday, but I imagine they can just put Curtis Lazar on long-term injury reserve, something like that, to get all the money figured out here. Jason Dickinson should be a fairly solid third-line center here for the Edmonton Oilers. We're expecting him, obviously, to step into that role. Like I said, Colton Dach could probably get a chance here on the fourth line, especially with the injury to Curtis Lazar that I'm sure we'll cover here as well. And obviously nice to see finally an end to the Andrew Mangiapane trade, but GM Stan Bowman not looking too good in this one, having to ultimately, in a bigger package, give up a first-round pick to correct a July 1st mistake.
Well, it was in hopes of it not being a mistake, but that's what it ended up being. That first-round draft pick, that's kind of the burr in the saddle a little bit. Kevin, your thoughts here on is this the price we had to pay to get rid of Andrew Mangiapane, was to give up a first-rounder?
It's a tough call, to be honest with you. I'm not loving the asset management but at the same point, like, my biggest issue with it is that Mangiapane is here on pretty much a show-me contract, and now we've had to spend a first-round draft pick to get out of that show-me contract, and that kind of is antithetical to, the purpose of such contracts. But maybe they had a different philosophy when they signed that agreement with him, and it just didn't work out. It's just really disappointing that we had to spend so much asset to get out of this.
All right, Lotzi, your turn. Fire away, buddy. Get those guns ablazing. Here we go.
Where do we start? Look, this is a first-round pick we're talking about. Yes, it's 2 years down the road, but a first-round pick has a lot of value. And what the Oilers just picked up are bottom-of-the-roster players, okay? And I'm gonna try to figure I always try to understand this from the opposite side. Like, I had my initial reaction, I was frustrated, but I wanna think it through a little bit, right? There's a cost for taking Mangiapane. He's got an extra year in his contract in comparison to Dickinson, who's UFA after this year, that to retain for 2 months on Dickinson to take on a full year of Mangiapane. Okay, great. That has value, but not a first. Colton Dach, good prospect, former second-round pick, 53 games this year. Not a lot of offensive production, but he's finding his way. And local kid, I've met Colton, and he's a good kid. Like, I just met Golf Town when I used to work there. I helped him out with some golf clubs one time, but that's beside the point. But regardless, I don't see him as being a prospect that's worth a first-round pick. So I don't think the combination of those two, I don't think the sum of the retention and the extra year of Mangiapane and the prospect we're getting in Dach is worth a first rounder, be it as it may, a late first and 2 years from now and conditional. All right, I believe it's top 12 protected if I recall correctly.
It is, yeah.
So yeah, I'm very frustrated that they spent the 2027 first to make this kind of trade happen. Dickinson's no different than Henrique, in my opinion. They both got 47 games played this year. Rico's got 10 points. Dickinson's got 13. This isn't the offensive third line C that we needed, or the two-way 3C that we needed. This is a one-dimensional player, very similar to Henrique, maybe a little bit faster than Henrique because Dickinson's 30 years old and has always been a pretty good skater. So bottom six gets a little bit faster, a little more defensively stout, but the strategy is still going to be lean on Connor and Leon. And depth scoring has been a big problem of ours in the last couple of cup finals. The third line for Florida took over the series last year, and the Oilers are just going to go back to the drawing board and just hope their bottom six doesn't get outscored and hope that Connor and Leon can provide all the offense. So I from that standpoint, I'm frustrated at the strategy. And I'm frustrated at the cost that we had to pay to make it happen.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the cost. Like, that first rounder that's a big one for bottom six forward. With his strength is the defensive game. I mean, he had one decent scoring season where he scored 20 goals 2 seasons ago, but that's not his game. That was just an anomaly. And I really don't think, as much as a lot of us preach it about secondary scoring, I really don't think that's much of a focus as much for Bowman. Maybe. I mean, yeah, we rely heavily on the McDavid and Draisaitl, Hyman, these guys for our offense. But having said that, we still have, like, in goals for per game average, we are the second best offense in the NHL, right behind Colorado. So I don't think we're worried about additional offense. Our problem right now is keeping the puck out of our net and our penalty kill and just our defensive game. And I think that's been the main area that Bowman seems to be focused on here during the trade deadline. I mean, so touching on that, we also picked up Conor Murphy, a right-handed D-man, known for his defensive play. And what did we give up for him again?
Second rounder, 28.
Yeah, and Chicago retains 50% of that salary. So why don't we touch on that one, Lottie? What do you got to say about Conor Murphy? What are you thinking there?
The strategy is pretty clear that Bowman's on the same page as you are. Defense first. They got to find a way to shut things down, and that's what Conor Murphy's going to do for you. Like, I don't mind the price, the second rounder, especially because we're getting retention. And yeah, big thing with Murphy though, PK, right? He leads the Blackhawks with 177 minutes of PK time. Bouchard leads the Oilers with 115, right? So maybe the Hawks are taking a lot more penalties than us. I don't know, but it shows that Murphy is trusted, and the Blackhawks have the league's best penalty kill right now. So you're taking the minutes leader on the best penalty kill in the NHL, and you're just plopping them onto our PK, which has struggled lately. So hopefully that stabilizes things. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know where Murphy's going to play. I know Knobloch's going to juggle him around. He'll get looks beside Nurse and Wallman and maybe even Ekholm. That was my first thought after I saw the pairings before Tuesday's game. I thought, oh boy, Ekholm and Murphy together might be a wicked shutdown pair. But maybe that's the type of guy that can stabilize Nurse. I don't know, but we'll need him to, and like, because I don't think Dickinson is going to stop the core guys from leaking goals against, right? And Murphy's the only one that has a chance to have some kind of impact on the core players on the back end leaking goals against. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. I'm frustrated at the strategy, but hopefully it pans out.
I find it like they tried for a little bit their last game, breaking up Echo and Bouchard for a bit, but they went back to it in a hurry, off and on through it the whole game. And that's just a tough combo to break up because they do work well together. And Bouchard's having like
tried is doing some heavy lifting here, Bob. Like tried, like it didn't even last a full period.
I'm giving the benefit.
They played 5D for in the third period because they sat Wallman, I believe, right? Or maybe I was at the game chatting with buddies the whole time. Like
they benched Wallman in the third period. So
third period.
Yeah.
Although Knobloch did say it was injury related, but it seemed to be definitely more.
I think that was Knobloch doing Wallman a favor because Wallman self-accounted that he was. Let's pull up Klima's comment there in the chat there for a second, since he's been kind enough to drop by our pod here for a minute.
Which one was that?
Can't do anything with this, unfortunately. I don't.
I saw that. Yeah, Patrick's got it.
Yeah,
there you go.
Do any of you believe that Bowman used the 2027 first to get rid of him and Stan Pat? No, I don't think they're done. I'm keeping a side eye on the Twitter at the moment. Blue Bullet Brad McPherson's got deadline cap space at $2.275 million, and if you go down to a 20-man roster, all the way up to $4.55 million. So, are they done? Not necessarily. That's pretty aggressive to run a 20-man roster, no doubt. I don't know if that's going to be feasible, especially with how banged up this team has been this year, but I would tend to agree with Klima's astute take, and he's been right more than he hasn't been by a considerable margin recently, that in all likelihood there's probably another deal brewing. I don't like spending the first on this. I think that just boils down to the fact that it's, it's just kind of, it feels like a waste of assets where compared to where we should be in this cycle. That said, our new acquisition Dickinson is actually quite good defensively. I'll pull up his hockey viz here in a second for everybody to see, but overall, and maybe I even can't do that because I'm not sure I'm an admin in this room, but all in, he was like plus 6.8 SG, which puts him, in hockey viz terms, that's an extremely good rating for a player of his caliber that is, a second line plus level center. And I know that that's not the deployment he's likely to see. He probably knows exactly what he's going to see here, which is third line center. And we're going to have a consistent third line center for at least the remainder of the year, barring injury, for the first time in what feels like forever. he's outpacing Adam Henrique in that category in basically all categories except for scoring. And I can't say as Henrique has done a lot this year in that regard.
Well, he
you know,
hasn't. But
well,
like I'm
and
just
you,
looking at his goals for percentage 5-on-5. It's 24-4, 30 against, 44.44%. Sure, he's fantastic defensively, but if you can't produce on the other side, then you're getting outscored. That doesn't do us much good. Right, but and Chicago's a different team, and he's gonna have a different role here. But yeah, like I'm frustrated. I'm not seeing the benefit to a strictly defensive player here. I was hoping for more, especially if we're using the 2027 first.
yeah, I think everybody's kind of on the same page there, but Dickinson is quite a bit better than people are giving him credit for. Yeah, I don't think I can add that image here. And usually I can, so I'm not in the right. I didn't join this pod as an admin, unlike previous times. So I will get that to one of the guys for to be displayed here in a moment, and we'll come back to that.
I think that one thing about Dickinson, yeah, like he is definitely is focused defensively, but he did show he has a penchant for being able to do some secondary scoring. Not that that's an expectation for him, but it is in him that certain situations we could get some additional more scoring than what we're getting from Henrique at least.
So he scored 22 goals in 23-24. That's the only season he's ever had above 9.
Yeah.
That is the definition of an outlier if I've ever seen one. It's like Frederick, right? He had those back-to-back years of 18 or 17 and 18 goals, but he's 2 years removed from that.
Okay, well, how dare you compare?
We're seeing what he is. Right? Like,
well,
I don't like relying on offense from 2 years ago.
I honestly like I would be interested to see if Bowman can find a way to move Henrique. I've heard recent rumors that his steadfast leaning on his no move clause hasn't been quite as solid as it was previously. So maybe if the right deal presents itself, and that would present a appreciable amount of cap space in the right circumstances. Yeah.
And I know, like, I'm fairly confident, and like, this is me not being connected at all, but I'm fairly confident that Szymanski will be sent down to be on the AHL roster on Friday to make sure that he's eligible for the AHL playoffs. I don't understand why the Oilers would not do that. Even if the Oilers lose in the conference finals and the Condors go on a run, you want Szymanski to be able to go play for the Condors in the Calder Cup final, right? Like, it just doesn't make sense to not have Szymanski eligible for the AHL playoffs, especially knowing that it wouldn't preclude him from being eligible for the NHL playoffs if they wanted to go that route. But I also think they kind of just replaced him with Dickinson on the current roster. So, like, I don't think we need Szymanski up here right now. So I think he's going down. So there's $975K for you. And Colton Dach doesn't require waivers. So I don't know what his cap hit is off the top of my head, but that's going to be another close to $1 million. Get Rico out of there too. We're pushing 5. So there's definitely a little bit of room if they want to find it.
Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
It's to get rid of Henrique, though. We're looking at doing some major juggling there. Like, he's not going to be a hot commodity here for anybody, and who knows? Maybe we're the ones who end up having to retain salary. We have to move Henrique, and we can't really afford to do that right now. If exactly the opposite we're trying to do is free up salary to get some acquisition.
Yeah, but even if you have to retain $1 million on it, right? Like, you're still coming out ahead. I don't think it's gonna. Let's be real. I don't think it's gonna happen. Gents, I did throw those images in our group chat. If one of you can bring it up.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
I think you can add raw images to it.
Oh, whoops.
Not
you.
Bob, that's an adorable addition to your image there in the top right, I gotta say.
Yeah. If you can move that over to hide my face, it'd probably work better. So.
Long story short, Dickinson is one of the best defensive centers in the league right now. He has been on an absolute heater, and he's played 49% of his time against elites, which begs the question, and I'm going to give fair credit to NHL Sid and Brad McPherson and a few other people have brought up some of these ideas on Twitter, so they're not mine alone, but getting defensive time away from Bouchard and McDavid and onto a player that can clearly handle the elite matchups without burning our best roster players. I do think there is some value in that. Another one I want to touch on here in the comments was about the goaltending tandem, and honestly, I have no friggin' idea. I don't know where we're at for goaltending right now. It's hot, cold, up, down, left, right, sideways. I don't think we're any farther ahead than we were before we started this adventure. And frankly, we've taken on a pretty ugly cap hit in Jari for several more seasons. So, no idea. Goaltending is voodoo. I'm kind of over it, to be honest with you. So who knows?
I'm not over it, but I don't think there's another option out there that will make us any better, unless you're getting like a Vasilevsky or an Ottinger or anything like that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not making a difference. And actually, truth be told, Jari was actually a good fit for Edmonton. Edmonton leaks high danger chances, and the day we got Jari, he was ranked third in high danger save percentage, third best save percentage for high danger chances, and he has since dropped to seventh, which is still good to be in the top 10, but that also lets you know that the high danger chances that the Oilers give up are like major danger chances. That one of the best high danger goalies out there is dropping in the standings because he can't do it. So
talk about the golden goose of high dangers against, like just laying eggs all over the place.
There are not available goalie options for us to get better in that department. We already tried that. Until we change what we're doing defensively, that's not going to make a difference. But we
can't shoehorn Sergei Bobrovsky in here and his like 10 point whatever $1 million salary. Surely there's some space in here somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I think they're going to try to address the goaltending the way they just did with Conor Murphy and Jason Dickinson. That's how they're going to do it. Try to get some more stable defensive play in front of them, because we saw it with Stu, we saw it with Picks, we've seen it with Jari and Ingram in short stretches so far. If the team plays well in front of them, they can shut it down. If the team plays awful in front of them, we're talking about a stretch where we've given up 50 goals in 11 games.
And I believe Jari is good enough. It's just that we're requiring too much of him at this point, and too much of any goaltender right now. So if we stabilize things up front, he is good enough to carry us as far as Stu carried us.
Both goalies' expected save percentages in the 860s right now, or close to it, and that tells you that. And given that their save percentage mostly lines up, that basically means they are saving what they are expected to, plus or minus a little bit. And the reality is they are just getting shelled on defensive chances against.
We got the Dickinson graphic up there. You want to touch on that there, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a black bar. There's lots of jokes to be made. I'm not going to make any of them, but this guy plays defense and lots of it. And if you actually look at the SG chart, that puts him at a borderline first line player. We can talk about the analytics of this SG, which is synthetic goals, which is Micah Blake's McCurdy's own model, is a fantastic model. It's highly reliable. I think this is a pretty good representation of what this player is. If he can continue to harness what his strengths are on the defensive side of the puck, this is actually going to help this team quite a bit. I'm a little more reserved on Dach, but this is a good get for the Oilers, I think.
I do think Dixon was the key in this one. I think Dach was kind of the addition a decent addition, by all means, a good prospect to throw in there.
Yeah,
But the focus was getting Jason.
I was hoping they were going to get Oliver Moore, to be honest with you, but that didn't pan out.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not going to dispute anything you've said here, Kev, and I've been pretty hard on this trade so far, but mostly because of the acquisition costs. Like, I liked Dickinson for a long time, and like a decent player. It's not the move I would have made, and I certainly wouldn't have paid a first to do it. That my biggest issue with this trade is the cost.
100%. Same here.
Hey, I mean, at least we didn't make the mistake of not making it top 12 protected like Florida did with Chicago. I guess they learned their lesson.
Fair, yeah. we're looking for silver linings here.
Total side tangent here for just a second, but I swear to God, if Florida ends up with Gavin McKenna, I'm gonna like flip my desk and like quit watching hockey because like that's just unfair.
Yeah, that would be stupid.
Well, we've touched on a couple things here already. Patrick, if you're up and running, let's get this the rundown happening here. Get a little bit of a review of what's been going on.
Well, I think we kind of covered the trades here for the most part, but like I said, Puckpedia is saying the Oilers are currently $300,000 over the cap, so there'll be some things that need to happen there. Curtis Lazar to LTIR, Colton Dach down. I'll be doing that a few times.
Yeah, me too.
They need to put the right letter on the jersey. Like, I don't care. Like, they need to put the initial on the jersey, or every single one of us is going to do that at least once.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, that's a more natural one for me to say. So I'm always going to go back to Kirby Dach there. Jason Greger reporting that Chris Knobloch said he's going to try Conor Murphy with a few different guys on the D. So no set pairings just yet. I'm sure we'll see a few different combinations on Friday against Carolina. Conor Murphy was on the ice for the first time today with the Oilers, so that was great to see. Curtis Lazar, like we were talking about earlier, is going to be out for up to 4 weeks, according to head coach Chris Knobloch. So I imagine he goes on LTIR. That's one way for the Oilers to get out of their little cap predicament at this point. We brought it up earlier as well. Jake Wallman getting benched in the third period last night, not injury related. So that was another one there. I wanted to point out a couple here from our very own Eric Friesen. Evan Bouchard joins Paul Coffey as the only defenseman in franchise history to record multiple 70-point seasons. So another connection there with Evan Bouchard and Paul Coffey. Seems like those two are always intertwined. And Connor McDavid joins Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux as the only players in NHL history to record 8 70-assist seasons. So thank you to Eric for those stats there. I wanted to make sure we got those mentioned. Bob Stauffer also put out a post today on Matt Savoy, currently on a 4-game point streak, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points, +4, has played north of 16 minutes time on ice in the 3 of the last games here. A strong 2-way game, penalty killer, taking a big step forward. So great to see the progress there from Matt Savoy. But yeah, that's kind of the rundown for the now, guys. But I hope you're right there, Kev, that we're going to see a little bit more happen here.
Well, one can hope, because I mean, they've moved the needle the right direction. I'm just not sure it's enough. And like, it's pretty clear to me that the leadership of this organization at the very highest level, potentially at the ownership level, definitely wants to see some traction on this season, even though I think most of us would agree that the best course of action was to probably take it a little bit easy and keep the powder dry, but that clearly is not the strategy that is being taken at this point.
Well, I know that's been the conversation a lot, but I just really struggled seeing that, like GM Stan Bowman, Jeff Jackson doing that with, especially with Connor on a shorter term deal. Yes, I agree it's the more safer way to go here and probably the more pragmatic way to go, but I don't know if you can really afford just to stand back and do very little at this point. Like, despite what this team has done this season, like, it's still got Connor and Leon, and you can never count them out. And come playoff time, this team always seems to turn it on and go to a whole different level. I know
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. It's not that I don't believe that this team can't make a good push at it. It's
Yeah.
that at a certain point, there are competing general manager philosophies at play here that leave this team in kind of a weird state. You're looking at the tapering off of the Ken Holland era and the interim Jeff Jackson era, and now Stan Bowman, and they don't really have the same like design philosophy, if that makes sense, like which leaves the team kind of in an interesting state in terms of build. And I think one more season would have probably finished that transition, if at all, if that makes sense.
Before we jump any further there, we're about half an hour in already. Wouldn't mind here, lots of you give us a quick little update on the upcoming Heavy Hockey Showdown on March 13th, 14th weekend.
Absolutely. Planning's coming along great. We're going to have a great event, but I do want to take a minute to acknowledge a couple of new contributors to our silent auction, which is now open, and the link is tagged on the Heavy Hockey or it's pinned to the Heavy Hockey Network profile if you want to go check out everything that's available. But we got the comic strip donated 8 tickets for a performance for us, so it's a great group night out for somebody that wants to bid on that. And we've got an absolutely huge donation from Cal Tire. They have a program called their Tires for Good program, and they help out local organizations and charities within Canada. And so they have offered up a tire package, so 4 brand new tires, an installation, along with a safety package, or like a safety kit, and a plaid blanket. So a nice little upgrade to a vehicle for somebody out there. Bidding is really low on that one right now, so get in on that while you can. But the other part about the Tires for Good program is they don't just give you something and walk away. They want us to give them some info on how it went, give them a little bit of a wrap on our event, and they actually want to hear about our event, hear about our costs, so they can spread the word for us. So we're looking forward to sharing everything that happens with them at the Heavy Hockey Showdown, and sharing some more information about our cause, which is the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton. It's a very needed cause that is underfunded, and they offer services for survivors of sexual violence, like counseling and police and court services, like assistance with the court programs and dealing with the police and all that stuff. So it's a great cause that needs our help, and I'm happy to be a part of a group that gets to support or gets to help it out a little bit, as I think we all are. But yeah, so that's a big donation from Cal Tire. The package is worth $1,600. So like I say, go take a look at it and bid at on the Heavy Hockey Showdown silent auction website. It's pinned to the Heavy Hockey Network X profile, so go check that out. Silent auction closes Friday, March 13th at 8 p.m., which is going to be right in the middle of our pre-party, which is going to be at the Ice House downtown in Ice District. So Edmonton Sports Talk is going to be there doing their pre- and post-game shows live from the Ice House for the Oilers and Blues that night. And we got a ton of great people that are going to be there joining us. Tickets are $10. Goes to SACE. You get a free drink upon entry as well. It's a worthwhile cause. It's going to be a great night. So come on out to support us for that if you can. And the game, the big event, the marquee, the Heavy Hockey Showdown, Saturday, March 14th, 1 to 4 p.m., downtown Community Arena. Get to see 3 of the 4 of us on the ice, and Patrick taking some video for us. But it's Team Heavy Hockey versus Team Edmonton Sports Talk. I know Dustin Nielsen, Tom Gazzola, Ice Cube, YouTube Trev, and Benny are going to be playing for EST. And we got myself, Kevin McCurdy, and Bob, if his back's going to hold up. Michael Hebert, otherwise known as Oilers Live, going to be playing for us as well. So we got a great set of personalities that are going to be clashing on the ice and fighting for all the holy grail Yeah, attendance is free. Rob Clark can be singing the anthem. Hunter the Lynx is going to be working the crowd. We're going to have lots of activities for the kids. I know there's going to be an interactive element in the intermissions. So lots to look forward to next weekend. So drop everything, clear the calendars. March 13th and 14th, Heavy Hockey Showdown. That's my rant. I'll let you guys go around the horn on the event.
Well, I got.
Can we get some donation links up? Because I've seen like there was a
Yeah.
question from Twitch that came in. I'm not sure how many people are watching on that platform, but I just think we need to make sure we're getting people to the right places. It is an extremely good cause. I'm proud to support it and proud to be playing with these guys. Even if Bob does have to carry us on his back and hurt that injury even more. But yeah. Let's see if we can get a donation link here up on screen.
Yeah.
Turn on it.
I personally had a friend that used the service. This is well before I even knew the service existed, and she let me know about it after I already had committed to playing in this thing a couple of years ago. And she said this organization, the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton, she said, quote unquote, that it saved her life. So she was in a pretty dark spot there, and these guys definitely gave her the guidance and the direction and just the tools to overcome what had happened to her and to just move forward. And she's better for it. So it's a very important cause to be. It was before I even knew that, but it became that much more personal when I heard that. So very, very proud to be a part of this fundraising. It's the biggest fundraising event for the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton every year. We are their primary fundraising event. So as much as we can drum up for them, the better. And yeah, you can find us. I think Lottie's trying to find us some links here for some donations, but you can always find us all of us on Twitter as well, or X, whatever you want to call it, on our links there. And we got our donation pages up, plastered everywhere. I'm pretty much putting it up there every day to drum up some donations. So there you are.
I know. Yeah, there you go. So that page that Patrick's got the QR code up there for, that is our main fundraising page. So you can donate straight to the cause from there. And every player has their own personal fundraising pages. I know mine is pinned to my X profile at Lots Ryan. Honestly, it doesn't matter who you donate to, though, as long as it all goes to SACE in the end. So big one here, donate to SACE. And yeah, I know I certainly appreciate any dollar that comes in to the event from the bottom of my heart. And I know all these guys do too. So thank you for all of your support. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you at the event either on Friday the 13th or Saturday the 14th.
If any of, and like to Ryan's point, if any of you want to, pick favorites in the room and get the individual donation links, feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure we'll happy to furnish you with those. They're pinned to most of the of our Twitter profiles.
All the player profile pages are on this QR code page as well.
Perfect.
So you can scroll down the list.
Excellent. Yep, sounds good to me.
Excellent. Well, thanks for that rundown, Lotzie, for sure. Definitely our most important event of the year. So back to some Oilers talk. So it's been 4 games since the Olympic break, and in those 4 games, we've won 2, which is odds considering we scored, was it 20-some goals? 22 goals.
An obscene amount of goals were scored for, and an obscene amount of goals were scored against. Is that the fair assessment of those games?
Yeah, very much so. So that again, it started off on the 25th with a 6-5 loss to the Anaheim Ducks. Just a team that we're fighting for playoff positions for. We rally back and have just a tumultuous game against the Kings and just demolish them 8-1. Probably one of our better games of the season. And we go right back to our old tendencies by giving up some leads and lose to San Jose Sharks 5-4 before returning the favor to the Ottawa Senators and beating them 5-4, even though we had to come back from 2 goals in that one as well. And again, just too many goals against, like you alluded to, Kevin. We are scoring enough to win and just not winning enough games in general. The 2 trades that have happened so far for the Oilers are definitely an attempt to address our defensive issues with Conor Murphy and Jason Dickinson in particular. They specialize on the defensive side of things, which is definitely a need on this team. Your thoughts, gentlemen. Patrick, why don't you start us off on those last 4 games? What stood out to you? What are some highlights, some lowlights? What do you figure?
Well, prior to the Ottawa game, Jack Michaels put out this post on X. Gut check time for the Oil, who come into tonight's game having dropped 2 of the last 3, despite scoring 17 goals, something that's only happened only one other time in this century, and that was the New York Rangers last year. So I talked about it quite a bit in my videos on my channel, The Oilers Fanatic.
Which, by the way, reached 10,000 followers, so congratulations.
It did, yes. Thank you very much for everyone's support and helping to make that happen. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, but yeah, scoring 17 goals in 3 games and losing 2 of those 3 games, just completely inexcusable. So I know earlier we were talking about Jason Dickinson, Colton Dach. See, I didn't say Kirby that time. I'm working on it. Both guys that are going to help the bottom 6 here. Defense is where this team really needs help. Like, they're scoring goals like crazy, but we can't keep the puck out of our own net. So hopefully these moves really help turn the tide here, because, again, like that post before the Ottawa game, they have to score 5 goals again to win last night. It's just a huge, massive problem right now, keeping the puck out of their own net.
There were lots of comments post-game about the guys saying it's good to know that we are capable of doing that and that we have it in us to win games like that, but it's not a recipe for, continuous winning. Lotsie, what did you kind of see there in those last 4 games here since the Olympic break?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is the goals against. It's a problem, and it's high quality chances against and sloppy defensive zone play. Right? It's guys losing guys in front of the net, even though it's guys looking like they're in position but actually not being there. Like, they're there but they're not there. Just sloppy. That's all you can say. Like, they're doing everything they can on the offensive side. They're scoring more than enough to win, but the defensive balloon has just popped. And so we've seen the group being able to shut it down before, and we've seen it for long stretches of time in the past. It's just not happening right now for whatever reason. I guess they'll say this forward group has a big role to play in that, and hopefully Dickinson helps. But they got to figure out how to put the clamps down defensively, because it's just not good enough right now.
I found it interesting after the San Jose game. They were talking to Knoblauch's media availability after that, and one of the reporters was asking about our defensive miscues and how he thought as a team we had played. And Knoblauch actually made a point of saying he didn't really think in that particular game it was the team itself. It seemed to be a cast of regulars that were making these mistakes. Kevin, are you seeing the same guys making the same mistakes? Are we keep making the same mistakes over and over again?
Oh, I gotta say, watching far side tap-ins happen multiple times a game is sure getting old in a real hurry. Guys going for a skate, and it's not. I know I've been critical of Nurse. It's not just Nurse. The guys just losing coverage, defensemen not standing where they're supposed to be standing. Like, I don't know if it's the same mistakes, but there's some themes that are certainly there, and I would really like to see them lock this down. I'm not sure what's changed. At one point previously in the season, they weren't scoring, but they weren't allowing anything against either, and now they've gone back to the some weird iteration of the late Jay Woodcroft era where they can score like crazy, but everything's ending up in the back of the net that goes the opposite direction. And that's just, it would be real nice to find a middle ground on both of those where, we can pump some pucks in the net, but also keep them out of ours. I know it's a novel concept and all, but seems like an important strategy for winning games going forward.
Yeah, Nurse's name is getting brought up a lot, and he's his own worst enemy at times, but to give credit where credit's due, though, I thought last game he might have been our best D-man last game. Him and
this is what happens with him, though. Like, not to get like lippy about it, but this is what happens with him. He takes some heat from the media, he takes some heat from the coaching, the management. He comes back, he plays one or two absolutely like lights out games where the Darnell Nurse that we all wish was the Darnell Nurse full time is here for a game or two, and then it's just right back to the same shit. So the test for him now is, can he harness this and show us for the rest of the season that this is the Darnell Nurse that we actually have? Because if it is, honestly, I got way less issues than the post that I made the other day about potentially moving on from him. I don't know if that is, really feasible at this point. I think the team, realistically, there's a very good chance that by the time Nurse's contract turns into modified no trade, I believe it's next summer, that this team will strongly consider moving on from this player unless he can show a real about face on his game-to-game consistency.
Well, you started a small fire on Twitter there by posting a Nurse to Leaf to Toronto. You want to give us a rundown on that one?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm looking at the Nurse situation, there's three, like, let's rule out option 4, which is Nurse plays like a $9.25 million defenseman, because that has been a real sticking point thus far. There are 3 ways out of the Nurse contract. The first is to trade it outright, which will cost you basically every asset and every pick that we have for the foreseeable future. If you take nothing crappy back in return. The second is to buy it out, which will cost you $9 million worth of cap for 4 years, and then $500,000 worth of cap for 4 more years after that. That is a death sentence. Apparently I'm a moron. Cool. Anyhow, the reality here for Nurse is that in order for us to move on from that contract potentially, we would have to trade it with somebody that has an equally bad contract to come back the other direction. In this case, that's Riley from Toronto. He's $7.5 million, same term length as Nurse, but his buyout conditions are way better. Same overall period of time, but the initial 4 years is $4 million a year, and the second 4 years is $2 million a year. So in exchange for the latter portion of that buyout having an increased AAV, you get your buyouts at $4 million instead of like $8.5 million. It's night and day difference. $8.5 million is a death sentence for a team that's trying to compete for the cup, even with having Connor McDavid on this team and whatnot, and having the cap go up year over year. I just don't know how I don't know how you overcome that. Bill Guerin didn't. Bill Guerin had that much dead cap to deal with, and he's only now that he's free and clear of it starting to put, the real Minnesota Wild together. So
A dangerous Minnesota team, but going off script a little bit here, who has been a bigger liability on the back end of late? Patrick, start with you. Nurse or Wallman?
rude.
Oh, well, one of them got benched for the third period last night. So I guess I'll go with Jake Wallman. I mean, both of them obviously have a lot to work on here going forward. That's why there's constantly the narrative around Darnell Nurse and the rumors going around. And like Kevin was touching on, and I mentioned earlier, like Bob Stauffer seemed to be putting kind of a damper on that. Like Darnell did just have, and his wife did just have another child here. So I don't know if they really want to get up and be moving anywhere at this point. The whole defense as a 6-7 man unit have to be better. It's not just one or two particular guys. Obviously, Ekholm and Bouchard have carried things for the most part, but yeah, Jake Wallman, I guess, would be my choice right now, just because he was the one that was making some big mistakes. Spencer Stastny did not look good last night either. Plenty of blame to go around.
Well, that's true. As a unit, Bouchard and Ekholm have definitely done the heavy lifting, but I got to say, Emerson's been a pretty stable factor of late too overall. Lotzi, what do you think? Nurse or Wallman, who's been the bigger detriment back there right now?
Why you gotta do this to me, Bob? They've both been bad. They've both
Trent Frederick.
struggled immensely. Yeah, fence sitter. I'm okay with that. I mean, they've both struggled. Like when Wallman makes a mistake, I think it's a bigger one. Like not quite to the level of Bouchard's cinematic mistakes, but approaching. And Nurse makes subtle little mistakes that end up costing big time. But Wallman's at least putting the puck in the net once in a while. Nurse has kind of stopped doing that lately. So maybe I'll go Nurse just for the sake of giving an answer. But I do really hope that getting Murphy will put Wallman back on his natural side, and that'll settle his game down a little bit. I know he said he doesn't want to be bouncing from side to side this year, but yeah, I think we need him back on his left side.
I think that's part of the plan, to have Jake play
It
his
has to
strong
be.
side. And I'm a Wallman fan, but his stretch since the new year has been, not the greatest, and especially the last couple has been horrendous. Coming off probably one of his best games of the year against LA, where I thought he was stellar. Yeah, like some strangers saying at least Wallman can score. Yeah, scoring is great, but if you're scoring one and then allowing two as well in the same shift, then or in the same game, you're still coming up on the bottom end of things. I liked the Wallman contract when we signed him, and I think he still has that in him to make that money worthwhile. But right now, he's just going through a funk. I agree with Oilers podcast, Stastny. I've been on that train for a while, and now that Stastny is probably the odd man out. I also like Spencer Stastny. He just hasn't been able to bring it or find his footing on this team consistently enough to make a considerable difference. Kev, you want to chime in on the Nurse versus Wallman chat?
I mean, I don't. Again, Wallman can score. They're both playing on and off and mediocre defense. The difference with Nurse for me is Nurse is a gifted skater, and he doesn't nearly use that ability as much as he should. And I honestly don't know what can help him at this point. We're 900 games in with this player, 850 games in with this player. At what point do you expect a veteran to act like a veteran? And again, this comes on the heels of what has been one of his better games this season. I get there's some people in the chat giving me some heat for shitty takes here, but this is not a new problem with Darnell Nurse. So when I talk about how you deal with problems, I'm open to suggestions on how to solve this that don't involve trading him, buying him out, whatever. But I don't see it. I just don't see how you solve this problem in the long term. And the other reality that I didn't talk about is just how expensive our defensive core is becoming. So far this year, we've traded $2.75 million Brett Kulak and signed Jake Wallman to a 7x7. So your left side this year is Darnell Nurse, 9.25. Jake Wallman, what is he, 3 point something right now? Next year, he's $7 million.
3.4 to 7.
And you've got Ekholm, who had $6 million, who becomes $4 million next. So you have $20 million in left-handed defensemen on your team. That doesn't even count Evan Bouchard's 10.5 or anything else on the right side. So at what point do you look at this distribution of salaries and go, this is a problem, and how do we solve that?
Well, the biggest problem that stands out in that one, which is the obvious one, which is the Nurse contract, right? I see Ace mentioning in the chat there too. He says, I would have been fine with Nurse at $4.5 million, but at 9.25, that's a lot to take in. And it's true, the price tag does play a role in it. Nurse's problems stand out. When he has a crappy game, he has a crappy game for sure. But you expect more from a guy making elite money. Like he's getting paid like a top 10 NHL defenseman, and he is far from that. So there's expectations that come with your price tag. We probably swallow some of these mistakes more if he's making $4 million as opposed to $9 million, where he's not living to the expectations. Patrick, would you agree with that?
At a $9.25 million, he is one of, I believe, top 10 paid defensemen in this league. I don't have the number in front of me. I'd have to go look it up to be sure. So I'm maybe talking out my ass, which is nothing new. But let's be honest. You need to, if you're going to sign a contract like that, and you know what? This is not me faulting Darnell Nurse for signing the contract put in front of him.
No,
Part
absolutely.
of it, absolutely, there's an accountability with Oilers management that has led us into this situation. And yes, I understand about Seth Jones and yada, 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 and market conditions at the time and so on and so forth. But if you're going to sign that contract, you are going to be expected to play as, you know, a top 10, top 15 level defenseman in the league. And that is not something that, to my knowledge, has ever occurred during his time with the Oilers. I'm not hating on Nurse. I like the guy well enough. He's a fantastic addition to this community. He is a stand-up human being from any feedback that I've ever heard on him. Occasionally I wish that he took a little more accountability with some of the things that he says to the media, but you know what? Everybody has different ways of dealing with criticism. And his is to, sort of be flippant with the noise that comes from Edmonton media in general, which I guess I can understand. He grew up in Toronto. He's used to watching how the Toronto media market behaves. Edmonton's not a lot different or better in that capacity. There are lots of things he does right. I really wish that he would use his skating ability. He is one of the most gifted defensive skaters in the league. Definitely in terms of raw power, I don't think there's many that can keep up with him. But there's just some mental errors that get made that really mark his game in a negative way from where I sit on him.
He is just a quick check here. He is the 10th highest paid D-man right now. He's actually getting paid, $250,000 more than Cale Makar.
Yep.
Just to add insult to the fire.
Who are the other 9, just out of sheer morbid curiosity?
Rasmus Dahlin and Bouchard and Erik Karlsson. I don't really have the list in front of me. I'm just kind of going up.
Howdy, I'm sure.
Charlie McAvoy is at 9.5.
So when you think about any one of those players, like granted, Karlsson is is coming to the end of his career, and he's still doing relatively okay, even though he's pretty much an offense first defenseman in every sense of the word. People criticize Bouchard like he's Erik Karlsson, except for Bouchard can actually play defense. Yeah, I just when you make that much money and you don't play at that level defensively or offensively, you are going to take criticism, and I don't think that that's really that controversial.
Do you agree with that, Patrick? Do you agree that if Nurse is getting paid $4 million, we probably tolerate some of this stuff from him a bit more?
Well, of course. Like the biggest thing that goes against Nurse and for Nurse is that contract. I mean, people would totally give him less criticism if he made less money because the expectations are less. Mm-hmm. Yes, no one in this world would turn down that contract offer from the Edmonton Oilers, and no one's going to blame him for signing that contract offer. But at the same time, if you're going to sign for that amount of money, you have to know there's an expectation. Like Connor McDavid signs for $12.5 million. He knew there was expectation with that. So he
talks about it constantly. Yeah. He talks about it constantly. We are expected to score goals in big moments.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so if you're going to take that money, which it's offered to you, absolutely take it. But there's expectations that come with making that amount of money. And to Kevin's points there, like over these last few years, we're trying to find different players to play with Darnell Nurse. Why are we having to constantly accommodate the $9 million defenseman? He should be leading.
That he should be carrying whoever you get with him. Yeah.
Like sorry, that was the word I was looking for. It should be carrying.
Yeah.
So yes, like I don't have anything against Darnell Nurse. Like Kevin, totally a fan of him. I love it when he's successful, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, more is expected of him, and he has to be more for this team at a $9.25 million contract. If he can't be, maybe it's time to move on. But those are just the basic facts there. I mean, yeah, there's a whole history here. Oscar Klefbom's shoulder, getting short-term contracts twice from the team, bridged twice. Like a lot of things led to this outcome, different contracts that were signed at the time. But at the end of the day, he signed that contract, and you have to do as best you can to live up to it. And I don't think, unfortunately, Darnell's done his half.
I would love nothing more than to see the Darnell Nurse we saw in last game every game. I don't think, like, if again he plays at that high level, he honestly probably their best defenseman last game, and that comes with fully understanding that Evan Bouchard scored the game-winning goal in overtime with typical Bouchard flair.
I
If
would
Nurse
argue
could bring that effort more consistently, I
Yeah.
would not be sitting here criticizing him to the extent that I am.
I would argue one thing though. I thought he was our best defenseman last game, yes. But having said that, even the way he played last game, that's not a $9 million defenseman. Like that maybe he played like a $6 million defenseman that thing, which was great. But even he brings that consistent effort, he's still not a $9 million defenseman.
No, and the reality that I've said this on Twitter a few times, the sooner people recognize that and expect Nurse to play like a $6 million defenseman, it's a whole lot more. It's a whole lot simpler to digest his performance. The reality is he'll never live up to that contract, and in some ways, it's not fair to, I guess, if you want to be really fair to him. But if Evan Bouchard wasn't living up to his, basically taking a run at the Norris, which, arguably won't happen because Norris voting is stupid. But if he wasn't living up to that level this year, he would be getting crucified. And I just don't see the same criticism for other players for, playing with relative mediocrity. To be fair to Quaddy, and they bridged him twice, but nobody could have foreseen the perfect storm of Oscar Klefbom and the Stan Bowman creating this mess by signing Seth Jones to the contract that Jones got.
I mean, that's the side effect of being in a situation with high expectations, with an owner that's eager to win and that's willing to spend to the cap every year, right? They got themselves into a situation where they're super tight against the cap every year. And they have expectations to add and add and add and add, and then Klefbom being on career-ending LTIR for a couple of years there didn't help. And that, because you're always playing in LTIR, that just makes things more complicated. But I'll say this on the expectations aspect. We're sitting here talking about Wallman making 3.6, and the question before this one was, who's been worse lately, Nurse or Wallman, right? So, it doesn't matter who you are on this team. If you're playing terribly, you're going to get called out for it in this market. That's just the way it is. But yeah, people are obviously a lot more angry about Nurse because of the dollars beside his name, and that you guys have hit it. It's expected. But I'm going to make one comment on Nurse, and then I'm going to bounce. But the accountability bit in the media, he literally agreed with everything Spector said on Saturday after the Sharks game. I don't know how you want him to be more accountable than that, other than to say the words, I was terrible. I was bad. I need to be better. So he agreed with everything Spector said. I don't know how it's not accountable. And then he, in the next interview a couple days later, I don't know which day it was, he doubled down on it and said, yep, I need to be better. So that's accountability. That's as accountable as a guy can be in the media. Yeah, he's got a little bit of an attitude about it sometimes, and he kind of did on Saturday as well. But sorry, that's accountability.
That's
anyway,
fair.
I got to bounce, guys. So have a good rest of the show, and thanks for tuning in.
All right,
Thanks
Lottie,
for
good luck in
stopping
your
by,
game,
Ryan.
buddy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lottie.
good luck, man.
Thanks.
You know what? That's I mean, Lottie's right. I mean, I think what fans are expecting for accountability is to them to be as emotional about it as we are. So we're over here calling them out for being shit, and we want, we expect these players to say, yeah, I was shit, and that's the only way we'll accept it, kind of thing. But in a professional way, I agree with Lottie that I thought Nurse was very accountable. He agreed with everything, didn't fight it, and even said it's something that we all need to be better. He wears a letter on this team. He's got to lead by example. So,
That's a super good point, by the way.
Yeah.
let's just, for argument's sake, that say that if this team can get back to the Western Conference Final or whatever again, and statistically getting to the Stanley Cup Final is not probably the measure that we should be using every single year. It's increasingly statistically unlikely. Remember, there's 32 teams and only 2 of them play for the cup at the end of it. That's really, really kind of shit odds to do it year over year over year for a number of reasons. But I do expect a lot from the guys wearing letters on their jerseys, and there's guys that don't have letters on their jerseys that lead by example every single game.
Yeah.
So take that comment for what it's worth.
No, absolutely. But how about this then, Patrick? I pose this question to you: is it that terrible if the Oilers do not make the finals this season?
I don't think anyone would be shocked if they didn't. Like, even taking the odds away, we know this team isn't of the same caliber that went to the finals the last 2 years. So they're due for a bit of a step back. We've seen the seasons that Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, teams that the Oilers would have to go through to get back to the finals have done. Obviously, it looks like the Florida Panthers aren't going to make it, so this would have been the ideal year for us to go back to the Stanley Cup Finals, because we finally wouldn't be playing the team that we can never beat. But yeah, no, and realistically, I don't think anyone would be shocked if the Oilers don't. I think they just have to be competitive. I don't think people are going to stand for a first-round exit or anything like that. And I think GM Stan Bowman, maybe it's too early to be talking about his job, but there's a lot of pressure on him. Connor McDavid just signed a short-term contract, and we were talking about earlier that you really can't take too much of a step back at the trade deadline. I know we don't want to go through a bunch of assets, but this team is in win-now mode, maybe more than any other team. Other teams are doing their best to get to that spot, but the pressure on this team and on this management group to get it done, I think, is probably the greatest in the NHL. So I don't think anyone's going to be shocked. I wouldn't call the season a failure if they don't make the Stanley Cup Finals, but they definitely got to make the playoffs, and they got to have a very strong playoff run and not get like smoked by somebody getting swept, something like that.
Well, besides the Florida Panthers, the Oilers have played the most games in the last 2 seasons, and obviously fatigue has to play a factor at some point. Would it be all that terrible if we didn't have the lengthy playoff run this season to be rested up for the following season, where a lot of our young guys will have a full season under their belt already, get some more experience, maybe make some more moves with some freed up cap space, and to make a stronger team? Would a 1 step backwards to jump 3 steps forward kind of thing for next year be that bad of an issue for us, Kevin?
I just don't see the team as a whole, let's just put it that way, accepting that kind of outcome. It has nothing to do with what I think. I think if there's anything less than, say, a Western Conference Final appearance, that you're going to see some bulldozer action pretty shortly there afterwards. And I don't know who would be safe or not safe from that. But I imagine the list is greater than 0 people that would be at risk. I understand where McDavid's coming from. It is, win right friggin' now, empty the cupboards, whatever, right? But to be fair to Leon, we got Leon for the next 8 years, arguably the remainder of his career. It would be remiss of me to not consider the future a little bit. And look at the situation of, it would be sure nice to have some assets so that we don't end up in an even worse situation than the Pittsburgh Penguins ended up in before Dubas started pulling rabbits out of his hat left, right, and center to make them competitive again. Side note to that, sure doesn't make Dubas look like the bad guy in Toronto. Just throwing that out there. But the I don't know. I won't be surprised if it's not as deep as previous years. I sincerely hope they do make a good run. I'm not by any means wishing against the team that I love for numerous reasons, any sort of anything but the utmost of success. But I'm also an analyst at heart and professionally, and I just have to look at the real world and wonder, how many odds these guys are going to continue to beat. And I hope that I'm wrong in ways that I can't easily express to you guys.
Well, I'm with you. Like for me, like it's to the point where I want McDavid to win a cup so badly that you don't ever want to. And I'm sure the whole Oiler organization feels the same way to some degrees, that you don't want to pass up any of these years where you have, Leon, Connor, and Bouchard, all together here, and to not make strong runs for it. And once they make the playoffs, any team makes the playoffs, they become dangerous. And how much more so when you got like Connor and Leon on your team. So you can never count this team out. I'm just saying that if it doesn't happen, if there's a first round exit this year, you're probably right, Kevin. There's probably going to be some changes made, above board kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think that's all that bad of a thing, just to get the extra rest and make a huge.
I'm not saying that, it's from a pure fatigue side of things. And I don't, I think we don't give Connor sometimes enough credit. Like, that man is superhuman, but in ways that amaze me even now. He's still improving in a time that where most players would start to revert a little bit. But I just look at the state of the team and the assets and the asset management that's led into this, and I don't know if the philosophy that Bowman has quite been realized yet. And I don't know how well that fits into how Knobloch coaches, and I don't know how well that fits into how the elite assets of this team play. And all three of those things kind of have to align for everything to work. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think first round exit, I don't think it's just Knobloch. I don't think there's a lot left of Oilers management left to criticize. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think Cates would tolerate, let's be serious, a first round exit in any capacity.
It would be the first person that people look at for sure. Agree, Patrick?
Well, he's already on the hot seat. I mean, we know there was consideration into letting him go before the Olympic break. So if a first round exit comes, I think it's pretty much a guarantee that he's out the door, whether it's deserved or not. He's took the team to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals, so I'd say probably not deserved. But in the NHL, we know coaches are hired to be fired, and what you deserve isn't necessarily what you get. So, and I agree with you, Kev. Knobloch wouldn't be the only casualty if it's a first-round exit. There's going to be big changes. We know the salary cap's going up this summer too, so probably new coach, new GM, and then whoever gets to play with that money is the next man up, who might be on the hot seat as soon as he gets the job. But we'll see what happens.
Can I be honest about something? I would really like to, if the Oilers ever swap their GM here in the next year or two, I would really like to not have to go through these are the same picture like we have with the previous, it doesn't matter who you take out of it, or whether it's Holland or Stone Bowman. Like, let's try a different philosophy next, if that's what it comes down to. But we're also getting way ahead of ourselves here. This is a team that has a shitload of talent. Let's be honest. Like, they're making mistakes. They're not playing the best hockey that they've ever played in their lives. They're certainly not as dominant as they have been in previous years. But to deny that they have the capability of being that, or to deny that this team doesn't pull talent and honestly a little bit of luck out of insane places is not fair to them, because every time we get down on ourselves, it's over, pack it up, they come back and win a hockey game 5-4 in overtime that they had no business winning.
Well, that
winning a
LA
series
series,
or
Exhibit
yeah,
A.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, you could talk about the same thing in the first Florida Stanley Cup final, man.
Yeah.
They came down from being like dead, literally dead, to playing in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. And you know what? Yeah, sure, we can talk about one save or whatever, but there are very few teams on the planet that could do that kind of comeback to get to that far, never mind actually finish the job.
Well, it's like you said, Bob, like you get in and you never know what's going to happen, right? We always used to joke about like the 8th seed getting in, had to play number 1 seed in the old system, but I don't think the first place team ever wanted to play that number 8 seed.
Well, the thing is,
Because
coming
of
in
special
hungry.
motivation, because they come in guns blazing because
Yeah.
that's how they got there in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
they've been playing playoff hockey for the last month of the season, whereas the team that clinched it already in 2 months beforehand, they're coasting themselves. And as much as you want to say that we can flip the switch and we're in playoff mode, it doesn't work that way. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Patrick. You see a lot of these 8-seeded teams and 16-seeded teams and what have you. They are very dangerous, and anything goes in the playoffs. So in the here and now, Paul Coffey's now back helping out the defense on the bench. It's only been 4 games, definitely a small sample size, but we've touched on it briefly before. But just to reiterate now that we're guns a-blazing, what kind of impact do you think Coffey's going to have on our D group here, and when do we expect to see this kick in? Patrick?
Well, I hope it hasn't started yet.
You tell me this isn't the Paul Coffey experience?
Unless he's coming in to help with offense, but I'm pretty sure it was the defense that we're trying to make better. So, I mean, granted, Paul Coffey came in like right at the end of the Olympic break too, which was a little odd. I mean, you'd think he'd would have wanted a bit more time. Granted, they weren't doing stuff until like the last week of the Olympic break, but you would want Paul Coffey there right at the start, in my opinion anyway, because they're not going to get a lot of practice time here. So hopefully just talking in between games, whatever he can get in there, hopefully we see it. But yeah, so far, I hope this hasn't been the Paul Coffey effect, because they got even worse.
Well, I found it interesting during Stan Bowman's media availability how he mentioned that Knobloch was actually the one that approached him about getting Coffey back. Do you find some validity on that one, Kevin, or was that just Bowman saving face as well?
Those of us that have played Among Us will know when I say kind of sus. That's all I can say about that. Like, guys, I don't. It's pure speculation. I strongly don't believe it. If I'm being honest with you, it's fairly well known that Coffey and Knobloch did not see eye to eye on a lot of things, and I would be surprised. I don't think it's impossible. If he felt the pressure to have another veteran coach back on the bench, I just know that they struggled to see eye to eye for a number of reasons in terms of approach and method and whatnot. And I don't know what would have changed between the end of last year and just before the Olympic break this year, right? Like, I just don't know what changed.
Well, I think we've mentioned this before, where Knobloch was given the reins for his coaching staff the way he wanted to begin this season. And Bowen's basically given him 60 games to do with it as he wished. And we've definitely been struggling in a certain area, so a change had to be coming. I do like the fact that maybe now Stewart gets to focus primarily on the penalty kill, which has been struggling a lot. Take some other stuff on his plate and let him dissect this penalty kill, right down to the last strand of tape on a stick. And hopefully we'll see some changes there. Obviously, Dickinson and, especially Conor Murphy should play huge roles in hopefully turning that around.
Yeah, they're both penalty kill guys, and I think they gave up another 2 power play goals to the Sens last night, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, well, one I remember for sure, but yeah, that could easily have been 2, yeah.
Yeah, so far not so good.
So Ace, can we just call out this one of these comments here for a second? Ace, you do know that Stuart Skinner has the best save percentage, and advanced stats of any goalie on the Pittsburgh roster right now, right? Like, he's not bad. He's up for trade because he's a good flip to a playoff team potentially. And I would be utterly shocked if Pittsburgh traded him at this point. Utterly shocked.
In the 11 games that Skinner has played for Pittsburgh, he has had, in the 15 games that he's played for Pittsburgh, 11 of those games, 73% of his games, he's had a goal saved above average, above zero. In 9 of those games, 60% of those games, he has a save percentage above 904.
And the ones that fall out of that range are that first block where he struggled for the first couple of games in a brand new system. Like, I get why people knock on Skinner. Don't get me wrong, Ace. Like,
why are we hanging on to our exes?
That's just it. Like, I wish him nothing but the best. It was time for a change of pace for him. It was time for a change of pace for us.
What does Skinner's play in Pittsburgh have anything to do with us at this point? Nothing. It has no relevance to the Oilers. It has no relevance to us at all in the fan base. So
yeah, I would be shocked if they trade him at this point. I think they'll ride out the rest of the season there.
Well, he is a free agent after this, so that's one of the reasons maybe there's talk about him getting traded.
Yeah, he's a UFA, right? But do they trust Shilovs and I don't remember the other guy's name, the Russian guy on the top of my head. Yeah. I don't know.
So the Oilers' next 4 games are all against pretty premier teams. We got a home game against Carolina, and then we go on a road trip for 4. 3 of those games in a row are Vegas, Colorado, and Dallas. Where is your confidence level on this team in this next? Let's focus on those 4 games specifically: Carolina, Vegas, Colorado, and Dallas. What are your expectations? What are your thoughts on these 4 games here, Patrick?
I think the team comes out and has a big first game with Jason Dickinson and Conor Murphy on Friday. It's at home.
The new player bump?
New player bump. I think they win the Carolina game. Vegas, I think we can take that one as well. Vegas hasn't been too hot, and I think the stat I saw, they haven't beat a playoff team since November 20th.
Yeah.
So as long as we can keep the goals down to maybe 3 or less, have kind of an off night there, we might be able to win that one. Colorado, hopes aren't high on that one, and Dallas aren't too hope on that one. So hopefully we can beat Carolina and Vegas here and go at least 500. I mean, ideally, you got to win one of those Colorado-Dallas games. One you're not expected to win at this point. They need the points. They got to get up the standings. They're getting passed by other teams here. So ideally, you can take 3 out of 4. But if I'm just looking at it honestly, of 4 games, I think they can go 2-2.
Interesting stat. Leading up to the 60-game mark, the Oilers' highest winning percentage from the 3 tiers of teams. Teams ranked 1st to 10, 11th to 20th, and then 21st to 32nd. So you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 teams. The Oilers have the highest winning percentage against tier 1 teams, a 56% winning percentage against the tier 1 teams. In fact, they have their worst against the tier 3 teams. They're at 39% against tier 3 teams. So they definitely play more so to the level of their competition. And you mentioned Vegas a little bit. Vegas has one of the worst winning percentages against tier 1 teams in the NHL.
21 tonight.
Yeah, they did win a playoff game. So, yeah, I stand corrected. Thank you. Before tonight, they had not won since November 20th.
Kevin, what's your confidence level in these next 4 games against these marquee teams?
Honestly, they're in put up or shut up time. Like, they have to pull some wins out of this. It doesn't matter how they do it or when they do it or who they do it. Their ass is against the wall, and they need to do what the Oilers do best, which is fight with their ass against the wall. There's no better team in the league of when they're backed into a corner fighting for their lives, and I expect we'll see some of that. And maybe some renewed focus on defense. Like, we have added some defensively focused players. I think that might calm things down, get some good energy in the room from a new ads. It's not a coaching bump per se, but it's too late for that this year. We're riding with the coaching staff that we have from here on out, and I think that as long as they can start putting a sequence of wins together longer than 4 games, then this team will be just fine.
I agree. I'm actually I like the level of competition we're facing, because the Oilers do seem to play to the level of the competition they're up against, and we're playing some really strong teams here, and I think that bodes well for us. Yeah.
You know who I wonder about picking up, and this may be controversial or it may not be controversial, but as of tonight, tomorrow, assuming he plays, Corey Perry will have cleared all of his performance bonuses for the year.
Well.
He's at $2 million, and there's flames shooting out of the Kings organization at the moment. Does Corey Perry at 50% retained make sense for the Oilers? And what does it cost you to get that deal done? Like, if the Kings are in trouble from a playoff point of view, do they look at moving on from him and doing Corey Perry a solid? And would he come back here to add a little extra shot of turtle or pizzazz to this team, right? Like, I don't know.
It probably cost us a first-round draft pick.
Jesus, where are you going to find one of those around here?
Oh, man. Well, boys, we're coming up to about almost an hour and a half now. It's been a pleasure as always. Thanks for jumping on. The chat's been really active. Love seeing a light up here on the side. There's some great comments, some really shitty comments, and some in between comments, but they're all welcome. So I appreciate the engagement there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We're going to go around the horn here and say our last thoughts on whatever you want to talk about. We'll start with Kevin, and then Patrick, if you don't mind signing us off there on the good night, and that'll take care of the Heavy Hockey Podcast and number 12 tonight. Thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks to Patrick and Kevin McCurdy. Take it away, Kev.
I don't have a lot of closing thoughts other than, Heavy Hockey Showdown. I think we're about 2 weeks away at this point. Come on out, come hang out. There's the pregame event, there's the actual event, and then there's the postgame event. There are plenty of silent auction items to be had. Everything goes to SACE, which is a near and dear charity of our choice that we really enjoy supporting. And honestly, I just hope that the Oilers can start finding some consistency as a team. That's really what they've struggled with this year more than any previous year, is consistency. And if they can find that, all my bitching aside, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. To echo Kevin and Bob there, come on down to the Heavy Hockey Showdown, March 13th, March 14th, Ice House and Community Arena down at Rogers Place there. It's going to be a fantastic time, all in support of a great cause there, SACE. I'll throw up the donation QR code here again if you guys want to donate to that.
Oh, apparently, while we wait for that, apparently the Los Angeles Kings are actively trying to sign Corey Perry to an extension.
Oh.
So
there you go.
just to throw a wrench in my devilish plans.
Well, there you go. No Corey Perry for the Edmonton Oilers, I guess. But we had our chance. We had 2 shots with that and it didn't work out. So maybe it wouldn't work out anyway. But yeah, guys, come on down to the Heavy Hockey Showdown. To all my watchers here from the Oilers Fanatic and plenty from the Heavy Hockey Network as well. Thank you so much for helping me reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers. Looking to keep going from there. And on the Heavy Hockey Network here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, both channels. We got great content for you. Thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us tonight, and have a wonderful night.